Lots of you were asking for this one. It's a flow focused on your hips. Hip, hip, hooray. If you've got blocks, bring them along. No need otherwise. And let's crack on. We are gonna start on our backs. So head on down. Ooh, maybe stretching your arms overhead. Reaching yourself out nice and long. And then bring the soles of the feet to the mat. I'm going to take mine as wide as my mat and then knock my knees in together. It might feel better for you to bring the feet in a little closer. Whatever feels good for you. And just snuggle your shoulders underneath you. Can you place your right hand on your belly, left hand on your heart? And you might close down the eyes here because I just want you to take 3 of the deepest breaths, or the deepest breaths that you've taken so far today. In through the nose and out through the mouth. 2 more like this. Deep breaths so that you can feel the belly and the chest expanding underneath your hands. And then breathe it out. 1 more deep breath here. And then you're going to let your breath steady, become more of a natural breath as you breathe in and out through the nose. Gently release your hands from your body. And then gently flutter the eyes open. And you're just going to bring your feet back to hip distance. And then hug the right knee into the chest. We're starting as we mean to go on, getting straight into those hips. So circling this right knee. And you might do a couple of circles and then kind of sway from side to side, backwards and forwards. Basically any movement here that feels like you're really starting to get into that hip. And then can you bring your knee in towards your face? So actually, rather than your face, up towards your right shoulder. It's like diagonally pressing up as far as it will go. Yeah, really squeeze it in. And then bring your left hand to your left hip. Right arm is going to come up the inside of the right leg. Grab hold of the little toe side of the foot and shine the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling. Half happy baby here. So you're anchoring that right knee down towards your armpit, finding that hip opener, maybe releasing that left leg long, only if that feels comfortable and it's not kind of making you lift or strain anything else. Take a deep breath here. I like this left hand into the left hip to really anchor, ground you here while everything's going on the right hand side. And then gently release that right foot down. Just bring both knees in for a quick squeeze. Maybe bringing the forehead up to the knees to meet. And then bring the feet back down to the mat, soles of the feet, hip width with your feet. Draw the left knee in. And start with those circles or those shapes. Any movement that feels nice. Starting to move into the left side, which might feel completely different from the right. I think the majority of people that I've taught, that I've talked to, that I've met, have different hips that feel very different on one side to the other. So know that. It's totally normal. And then can you squeeze that left knee towards left shoulder, really squeezing it in, hugging it in. A little closer. And then place that right hand on right hip. Left arm goes up the inside of the left leg, grabs hold of little toe side of foot. Shine that sole of the foot up. Release that thigh, that knee down towards the armpit. If you did on the other side, and if it feels okay on this side, reaching that right leg long, or keeping it bent. Finding this opening. Anchoring that right side down with that right hand. And opening through the left. Deep breath here. And then gently release that left leg and squeeze both knees back in. Oh, give yourself a big hug. And then my favourite, either coming onto one side and bringing yourself up or rocking and rolling up to all fours. So finding a bit of childlike play as you make your way over to all fours. We're just going to take some circles around the body. So shifting the weight forward and then over to the right, all the way back round and up the left. Now move on your own time and on your own terms here. If there's any kind of sticky spots that you want to stay in for a bit or move backwards and forwards in, then find them. Get to know your body. Use this to get to know where those little pockets are, either of tension or of space. Can you take those circles back the other way? Oh, yeah, lovely. Stopping at any point if there's little spaces that feel good to be in for a bit longer. Knees cricking and cracking. And then we're going to send it all the way back into a child's pose. I encourage you to take your knees as wide as the mat to really encourage that hip opening. Send your body and chest forward, forehead, sending it down, weighing it down towards the mat. Find your child's pose. Take a deep breath here as you send that bum back towards the heels. Find the length through the spine. And then start to look up towards your fingertips. Start to bring yourself forward. Knees come underneath your hips. Hands are in front of your shoulders. First fingers facing forward. Tuck the toes. Lift yourself up to your downward facing dog. Take a bend in the knees and prioritize this length through the spine. Pressing through those hands and finding that really long spine. Then maybe you start to lengthen the legs, but prioritize that spine. Prioritize that length through the upper body. If you're new to yoga and you're like, downward dogs are tough, then you're not alone. And I think they're always a bit tough. Take a deep breath here. Now I want you to cross your right foot behind your left. Yeah, cheeky little cross of the feet there. And then send both the heels over to the left, toes to the right, still in a downward dog shape. Feel that stretch through the side. Really deep stretch here. Take a deep breath. Keep pressing those hips high. And then bring it back to center. Come back to those tiptoes. We're going to step that right foot behind the left wrist. So it's crossing over the mat. And then you're going to step this back foot, this left foot, over to the right. Oh, yeah, I know. We're really getting into every which way. Now keep a big bend in the knees here and put your feet wherever feels good. Wider, closer together. I'm so going to encourage blocks here, because it's likely that, like me, it's going to be much harder to get down to the mat. So maybe grab hold of some blocks. This is going to really aggravate people that I've got two, or some people that I've got two different colour blocks. Potentially the most aggravated will be my boyfriend who edits these videos. So sorry, wonderful boyfriend, and thank you for all of the edits that you do. So your feet are crossed, your right foot is in front. This feels like a lot. Can you still try and press the weight forward? If you haven't got blocks, dangle those hands, or maybe they do come to touch the ground. But just bend into the knees as much as you need. And then can you tuck your chin into the chest and slowly rise yourself up. Try not to scrunch the toes too much. Keep those legs crossed. Reach the arms all the way up. Now bring the hands down through center. We're going to hinge at the hips. Boy, does this feel more challenging than normal. Fold it all the way down. Either holding onto those blocks or the floor, can we find a half lift? Rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chest. And then release your chest back down, shift those blocks out of the way, step left foot back and right foot back, downward facing dog, no crossing the legs. And just take some little steps out with your feet. And then bring your knees as wide as the mat, send your bum back towards your heels, find that child's pose. Deep inhale here, deep exhale. Now inhale, start to gaze up at those fingers again, shifting the weight forward, knees underneath hips, tucking the toes, first fingers facing forward, downward facing dog. Let's take it to the other side. So left foot is going to cross behind that right foot. Keep pressing those hips high. Remember, bending the knees, prioritize that length through the spine. And then reaching the right heels, both heels, over to the right. Yeah, so toes to the left, finding that twist. Keep pressing your bum high. Oh, big old opening here. And then can you bring it back to center, coming to your tiptoes. We're going to uncross that left foot to send it forward behind the right wrist, crossing the body. And then that right foot comes behind and over to the other side. And just again, take some time to find a setup here. Bend into the knees, spread your feet a little wider, a little closer, grab a hold of those blocks. Try not to scrunch those toes and find a fold, pressing your weight forward as much as you can. Take a deep breath here. And then tuck your chin into your chest and slowly lift yourself up. Lift the arms high. Exhale, bring your hands down through heart center, send the bum back, find a fold. Oh yes, remember grabbing hold of those blocks if it feels good and if you've got them. Inhale, find a lift of the chest. Exhale, release it down, send those blocks away. Hands come down, bend those knees, right foot steps back, left foot steps back, downward facing dog. And just take a little pedal out through the feet again. And then this time we're taking the feet as wide as the mat, heels slightly in, toes slightly out. Walk your hands back towards your feet as you sit down to your malasana. So this is a real hip opener here. If you're up on your toes, you might be able to take your feet wider and send your heels towards the floor, or it doesn't matter, keep those heels floating. You can always find like a blanket or something to roll underneath and just encourage those feet a little closer to the floor. If you can, press your elbows into your thighs, roll the shoulders back, and can you sit just above where you want to sink? Keep opening those thighs out to the side. Deep breath here. And then release the hands down. Press the bum high. Wiggle the feet to hip width and find a normal fold here without the legs crossed, which might feel just wonderful. Maybe grabbing hold of opposite elbow, shifting the weight forward. Maybe there's still a bend in the knees. Take a deep breath. Any movement, any swaying that feels good, completely welcome. If you've grabbed opposite elbows, release your hands down, tuck your chin into your chest and roll yourself all the way up to stand. Reach your arms high. Right fingers grab hold of left wrist. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend over to the right hand side. Inhale, reach it up, switch that grip, left fingers grab a hold of right wrist, send it over to the left. Little side stretch. And then reach it all the way up. Hands come out wide as you send your bum back, keep that length through the spine as you fold it all the way down. And then walk your hands out to your downward facing dog. As you inhale, can you lift that right leg up towards the sky, the ceiling, and then bend the knee. We're opening the hip, pressing the knee upwards while the heel comes in towards the bum. And then step that right foot all the way through between the hands as you ground that back foot. Let's find a warrior two. And if you can, try and take your feet a little wider than maybe you normally would. Let's focus on this opening up. As you bend into this front knee, reach the arms out to the side, relax the shoulders away from the ears. Take a deep breath. And then inhale, reach the arms up. Send the right toes to the side of the mat, and then left toes to the back of your mat. And we're gonna warrior two to the back. Yeah, just to confuse things, just to get you looking at something different. Try and keep that torso, because I know this is where I always float off, either forward or back. Try and keep your torso central. Keep opening out this front knee over the little toe side of the foot. Really sink into this. And then can you flip that left palm, reach it forward, find a reverse warrior two here, towards the back of your mat, still bend through that front knee as you open the chest. Now can you take this reverse warrior two to the front? So we're turning left toes to the side, right toes to the front, and then switching up those arms to find that reverse warrior two. Lovely. Now, cartwheel the hands around this front foot, and then you're going to turn your right toes to the side as you walk your hands back to your left foot. And we're going to start to bend into this left knee, maybe peel right toes up off the mat, that right leg is straight. We're moving towards a Skandasana, but can you keep this left heel down to the mat? So you might be able to get quite low down. You might stay quite lifted here. Can you walk your hands forward? Bend into that left knee. This is really intense. Can you peel this right thigh and big toe up? So like they're coming up. Oh yeah. Yeah, did you get it then? Take a deep breath. And then walk your hands back towards you. Start to shift your weight towards the front of your mat, lunging towards the front of your mat. Walk this right foot out to the side, lay that left knee back down. Finding a lizard lunge here. So those right toes, make sure they're pointing in the same way that that right knee is pointing. Find a lift of the chest here for a moment. You can always grab a block if you've got one. Place your hands upon it to lift you a little further up here. And either stay here, or you might reach your right arm back and bring your toes up to your hand. Now make sure that you've got some space between your legs so that the pressure is just above that knee. So it's not right on there, because otherwise that's going to be a little bit intense. If there's like a little bit of knee kind of, I don't want to say pain, but if it's a bit tough on the knee, you could always have a blanket underneath. And maybe you're reaching towards that foot, maybe you grab a hold of that foot. If you've got the foot, press foot into hand, roll that right shoulder back. Take a deep breath wherever you are. Remember, you might also be here. Opening up this hip in our lizard lunge. And then if you've got a hold of the foot, can you gently release it? Reach that right arm over. Tuck the back toes, hands into the floor, and then step this back foot to the outside of the left hand. Yes. And then we're going to sink down once more into that malasana. If you're finding these malasanas, this squat, really tough, and you've got a block, feel free to pop a block underneath your seat. And that will just let you open a little more. So whether you're here, whether you're still in your malasana sans block, I think is some language, without, don't know. Right elbow, can you press your right elbow into the right thigh and your right hand into the left thigh? So you're using this one arm to open up both sides of the leg. And then you're going to reach this left arm up and then over to the right. Keep pressing that right arm, elbow into right thigh, hand into left. Take one more breath here. And then release that left hand down. Hands come to the mat, send the bum high, wiggle the feet into hip width. Find a fold here, release the tip of the head down. And then tuck chin into chest and curl yourself up. How you doing? I hope you're doing okay. It's a lot, right? Lots and lots of work here. We are going to keep going though. I hope you're taking water if you need it. If you've got a block, you're going to bring your block over to the right hand side. And we're going to move into a half moon from standing. So right foot is solid into the ground. If you're not using that block, your fingertips are coming to the floor. You could dangle your hand, but that's going to be a bit more challenging. Can you reach that left leg back behind you? My head is heading straight for you, George. Here we are. Well, I don't know why I don't just adjust slightly. So right hand, this block is just outside of my right foot. And I'm pressing the hand down. I'm opening up through this left side. So my toes are pointing towards the side. Left hand can come to hip to kind of help move it over to the side. And then you might reach that arm up. Keep lifting that back leg, keep flexing the foot. Find space here. Yes. Take one more deep breath. And then step that foot back behind you. And then I'm going to encourage you to find even more space between your legs. Like so much so that it feels a little bit ridiculous. Ridiculous amount of space. We're coming into a really wide triangle. So front foot is facing the top of the mat, back foot facing the side. Block, if you've got it, is coming to the outside of the foot. If you don't have a block, you can still lay that hand palm facing upwards on the inside of your thigh. If you've got that block outside of your leg, press your hand into it and just reach your body open. Don't worry so much what this looks like. Just try and find space through your whole body. Yeah, lifting yourself all the way up. Let's take 2 more deep breaths here. And then reach that left arm all the way overhead. Bring it down to the mat. You might step that back foot ready for a lunge. And let's take it back to our downward facing dog. Send the hips high and then bring the knees as wide as the mat, bum towards heels. Find that child's pose. Find that length as you sink the bum back towards the heels. Let's take one more long breath here before we venture on to the other side. And then inhale, look up towards your fingertips. Start to lift yourself up, edging knees underneath hips. First fingers facing forward, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Remember that straight spine as you really press your hips high. Now lift that left leg and let's open the hip. Bend the knee, press the knee upwards, heel in towards bum. Keep that downward dog, long spine. And then step that left foot all the way through between the hands, ground your back foot, and you're coming up to your warrior two. So other side, but can you, like we did on the other side, on the first side, make even more space between your legs. So maybe more than normal as you bend into this front leg, reach the arms out to the side, relax shoulders away from ears. Really spread those toes. Keep your torso as central as you can, opening this front knee to the outside of the foot, so little toe side of the foot. And then inhale, reach the arms up, left toes face the side, right toes face towards the back, warrior two to the back. Slightly different vantage point. Find all those adjustments still. Also torso central. Bend into that front thigh, open it up, little toe side of foot. Relax shoulders away from ears. Take one more breath here. And then flip that right palm, reach it forward, send it all the way back, reverse warrior. Keep that bend in the front leg. So you send left hand down the back of your thigh. Roll that right shoulder back, lift the chest. And then we're going to send this shape to the front. So turning right toes to the side, left toes to the front, left arm comes forward and back, bend into that left leg. Deep breath here. Then circle your arms down and we're going to start to walk them to the side. Send left toes in. We're going to start to bend into this right leg. Remember, keep this right heel down. So as much as you can will all be completely different. Maybe turning those left toes up towards the ceiling, reaching the arms a little further forward, send the weight back. Press back through the bum. Can you turn this left inner thigh and big toe up towards the ceiling? Keep pressing that bum back as you lift the chest forward. And then ease out of those legs as you walk your hands towards that left foot. Left foot comes out to the side of the mat, lower that right knee. We're in our lizard lunge other side. Make sure those toes are going the same way as the knee is. And remember your options again here. So you can stay here, pressing hands into block, into something, or you can reach this left arm back as you bring the right toes towards the body. Roll this left shoulder back. You can also reach, maybe you don't have a hold of that foot, but you're reaching for it. You're rolling that left shoulder back. I think it's more intense because once you've got a hold, there's then something to kind of ground it. If you do have a hold, press that foot into the hand. Lift your chest. Take one more breath wherever you are. And if you've got a hold of that foot, gently release it. Bring your hands back down in front of you. Everyone tuck the back toe, lift that knee. I slightly straighten my front leg to step this right foot outside of right hand and send yourself down to that Malasana squat once more. Remember, the option is always there to grab a hold of that block and place it underneath your seat. Lift the chest, roll the shoulders back. And this time it's left elbow going into left thigh, left hand into right thigh. Lift that right arm up. Really press hand and elbow. It's going to kind of differ depending on how long your arm is. Mine feels quite short and it feels quite strained, but keep pressing those thighs out. Reach that right arm over. And then circle that right hand all the way down. Press into the floor as you lift your hips. Wiggle feet into hip width. Dangle here for a moment. And then tuck your chin into your chest. Roll yourself all the way up. Okay, let's move towards that half moon. If you've got a George, close, shift out of the way. Other side this time, so block on left-hand side of the outside of the foot. We're gonna start to reach that right leg back. Hand comes down to that block or to the floor, right hand to hip, so that you actively turn yourself over to the right hand side. Flex the lifted foot. Keep turning yourself to the side, maybe you lift that right arm up. Find space here. Find that opening of the hip to the side. So toes are facing towards the right hand side. Maybe you look up towards your fingertips, test your balance. Take one more breath. And then step that foot back and then make your stance even wider. A ridiculous amount of wide. You should maybe fall into the wall as well. Keep your balance. Feet are set up like a warrior two. We're coming into that really wide triangle. So if you've got that block, coming to the outside of that left foot. If you've got just your hand, reaching it to the inside of that shin, and just create space. Please don't worry so much about the shape. I just want you to feel this space between all of the limbs. Creating as much space as you can. Can you kind of hug your thighs in towards each other? Take one more breath here. And then spiral that right hand all the way down. Block out of the way. And just bring yourself down to your knees. Oh, and just take a moment. Sitting cross-legged, sitting back on your heels. Maybe you close the eyes just for a moment. You've got a couple more intense hip openers to go. So just giving yourself a minute, a breather. And then gently bringing yourself back into the room. We're going to find our Gomukhasana, our cow-faced pose. So we're going to go into it from one particular way, but feel free if there's a way that you prefer to get into it to find that. I'm coming onto hands and knees, and I'm bringing that left knee into center, and then I'm going to bring my right leg in front, knee kind of connected with knee, sending my legs out to the side, and then I'm going to start to sit myself back. Now I'm bringing a block with me. I am open in this pose, and this feels pretty comfortable to me to stack these knees over each other. It might not for you, so you've got a couple of options. Kind of more normal looking pose, or the more usual that you see, is this right knee further higher up. You can sit on a block, so if you're here but it doesn't feel massively comfortable, sit yourself up on a block, give yourself a little more space, and that will help to kind of give you space for your legs. If it really feels super intense, lay that left leg, the bottom leg, out long, right knee stacks on top of left. So you've got a couple of options there of your different poses. And then wherever you are, can you roll your shoulders back, lift the chest? Any of those options. Sitting on that block, laying that leg out long. Try and really make sure that those knees are stacked on top of each other. And it's like the most patronizing thing to say, but keep breathing here, because it can be really intense. If you would like to move a little bit further, you're going to fold. So you're going to send the bum back, reach your chest forward, and fold yourself down. Try and keep the sit bones connected to the floor. But you can always stay upright. We're going to take 3 more breaths. So whatever of those options you want to be in for those 3 deep breaths. Keep breathing, telling your body that it's okay. It's okay if it's tight. And then, if you're folding, you're going to tuck your chin into your chest and slowly bring yourself up. If you're crossed like this with your legs, actually in any of the versions, just be more cautious if you've got a block underneath you. Send your hands back behind you and a little pizzazz to get out of this. Why not? Ta-da! Fly your legs up. As dramatically as you would like. Yes, lovely. Feet as wide as the mat and just sway your knees from side to side. Just a little sway. I mean, feel free to make this dramatic too. I'm so sorry. Anything that you would like. And then let's take it on the other side. So if it didn't feel good coming back, because for not, what do I mean? It won't feel comfortable for all of us coming back from this all fours position. So now that you know where we're going, you can take it to the other side. It's that left leg that's going to be on top this side this time. Gosh, all that drama and pizzazz. It's really thrown me. So this time bringing left knee in front of right. Taking those legs out to the side and then sitting yourself back down. Or finding this in any way that you would like. And just remembering those options. Block sliding underneath you, giving you a little bit more space, a little bit more room. Right leg extending underneath you as you stack knee on top of knee. And finding that shape and breathing for a moment. If you're sitting with your hands, with your legs curled like this, I like to put my hands onto the soles of my feet. So that might feel nice to you too. Feels like very connection between every part of the body. Can you sit up nice and tall wherever you are here? And it might feel completely different on this side too. So just be with it. Now if you folded on the other side, if you'd like to fold on this side, sending the bum back, chest forward. And you might send your hands out too, finding a fold. No need to fold if you do not want to, if it feels like too much. We've got 3 deep breaths wherever you are. Stay with me. We get to do the dramatic unveiling of our legs in a minute, so it makes it all worth it. I promise. Okay, if you're folding, tuck your chin into your chest. Roll yourself up. Hands back behind you. Are you ready for it? Ta-da! Unveiling your legs. Knees side to side, feet as wide as the mat. Just releasing it out. And then we've got one more hip opening pose before we head down to our back. Well, we've got a couple more on our back, but one more upright, or relatively upright. So can you come back to that all fours position? And we're going to bring the right knee behind the right wrist. We're setting up for a pigeon, you may have guessed. Now tuck your back toe and stretch it back as far as it will go. And then untuck the toes. If you've got blocks and props here, if you notice that your right hip is really rising up, you could slip a block underneath. So the idea is really wanting to ground both of your hips or kind of keep them square and straight. So peel that right hip back, left hip forward. So you can add props and things underneath to help support you. You may then fold yourself out from here, but you can stay upright. And we're going to stay here for a fair few breaths. Can you imagine that you're sending your breath down to your hips? If you're not getting much intensity from this, you feel pretty open, you might wiggle your right foot a little closer to your hands. And equally, if it's feeling way too intense, snuggle that foot back towards your body. Sink yourself down. Maybe noticing if you know this pose well, if it feels different because we have done all of that preparatory hip opening. And also notice how it changes as you breathe into it, as your nervous system gets used to it, this pose. You might be able to find a little more ease, a little more sink. Take one more breath here. And then really gently walk your hands back towards you. And just bring yourself back to all fours. So press through your hands and send that right knee back. And you might just shake your legs from side to side. You might reach your legs back behind you, finding anything that feels good. And let's take it straight to the other side. So left knee behind left wrist. Tuck the back toes, send that leg as far back as it will go. Untuck the toes, either staying lifted or reaching yourself down here. Sending those breaths down to your hips. And take the time on this side to adjust. So it might feel very different. Have I said that enough to make it common knowledge? Like, it really might feel very, very different. So you might wiggle your front toes up towards your hands. That's to find some more intensity, to find a little more bite. Or bring your foot back towards your body to ease off it a little. In yoga, they talk about sthira sukha, the strength and the ease. And it's like the combination. So yes, we want to find strength and challenge, but we also want that ease and softness in there. So finding the balance between the two is really important. Don't push yourself to pain. Also, don't worry if it doesn't look anything like this as well. So pigeon is a really comfortable pose for me. There are lots of poses that aren't. So if you are feeling a lot in this, you're not alone at all. Every one of us is different, and every one of us is different on a different day. So it may feel nothing like a pigeon that you made yesterday, that you had. Pigeon that you made or had sounds, I don't know, strange. But the pigeon that you posed as yesterday may feel different. Oh, take one more breath here. And then if you're folded forward, slowly bring your hands back. Press into your hands, come back to that all fours position. Any little shakes, extension of legs, anything at all that feels good. And then we are going to head onto our back. So coming onto your bum, making sure there's some space behind you so that you can fold yourself back down to the mat. And you might take an almighty stretch here. Lifting arms above head, legs out long, some circles with ankles, with wrists, anything that feels nice. And then you're going to hug your knees into your chest. Take some rocks from side to side. And then take some circles. Sending it back the other way. And then bring your knees wide. Send your arms up the inside of the legs and grab a hold of the little toe side of your feet or the shins. If reaching the feet is a challenge, the shins. We're finding a full happy baby. So we did this half on one leg and half on the other leg at the beginning. Full happy baby, soles of feet shining up to the ceiling, knees sinking down towards the armpits. Maybe you take some movement here, some rocks from side to side. Maybe you stay completely still. Can you start to make those breaths deeper and start to relax your forehead and your jaw? And then release the feet, bring the knees in for one final squeeze. And then head on out to your shavasana. Your final resting space, where you're going to snuggle your shoulders underneath you. Keep your palms facing up. Start to breathe deeply. And unfortunately, this is where I leave you, but know that I'll be shavasanaing away with you. Take as much time as you've got here. You truly deserve it. And I'll see you on the mat next time.